What's going on? It's Keith Kalfas here, and today we have Joshua Latimer. Man, you've heard me talk about Josh in my videos. Here's a guy who went from being totally broke with nothing, and he built multiple seven-figure businesses. I've been on the phone with Josh late at night, and he's coached me through things in my business. He's challenged me tremendously to think bigger in my life. I'm super, super happy to have him here, and I want to talk about and ask him questions about money beliefs and patterns and things having to do with business that are also challenging to me. I know what it's like to pace around and just be like, when is this going to happen for me? Have you ever felt that, like, what are the right levers to pull to make things finally start moving? So I'm super excited to have you here, man. And dude, one more fist bump.
Yeah.
What's up, Josh?
Well, thank you for having me. I actually get to see the world headquarters in real life. I know when you were building this studio, we had talked about it, but I didn't realize how epic it is. You went over the top. I don't know if people really understand kind of where you came from. And I'm just blown away because I've known you for so many years. So way to go. Proud of you.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. So I want to know about, I mean, you've coached over 1,000 businesses personally, and you've built a lot of businesses yourself. You even have this new thing going on with the Kid War Plan, and I'm seeing you around the internet doing things. But I want to talk about, how do you go from being the guy who's out there just doing it, to actually having some structure so you can, scale up and deal with the head trash and mindset stuff around making more money.
Well, when I was getting started in entrepreneurship, I was like, I'd say significantly above average skeptical of any kind of mindset, anything, because it sounds like woo-woo kind of ethereal pointlessness, right? I just want to give me the tactic. As I've gotten older and more mature and even raised 5 kids, and we've lived in 2 countries and just gotten older, I don't know. I always say the older I get, the dumber I realize I am, right? I think when you think you know everything, it's just evidence that you know almost nothing. And if you know lots of stuff, you realize that you know almost nothing. But the big obvious thing to me now is that mindset is like almost the entire game. I heard a quote once that said, the only way to be successful is to deserve it. And it kind of hit me like, ooh, what does that mean, right? Because we all know that sometimes bad people achieve big things. So put those people to the side, right? Because, I think 70% of first-generation millionaires are first generation, the ones that are becoming millionaires right now. And not all of those people, which is, I think, 1,700 people per day become a millionaire. They're not all doing bad things. These are people that built real companies that created real value. And so if the only way to be successful is to deserve it, to tie it back to the mindset thing, most people deep down, because of all the childhood stuff, because of trauma, abuse, neglect, self-limiting beliefs, and a million other things, shame is a huge one, they don't think they really truly deserve it. And you can simultaneously desire success, but also feel like you're not worthy of it, and thereby guarantee yourself that you're not going to get it.
Guarantee yourself.
I mean, in my experience, yeah.
So you, I don't know, don't want to get too, like, you can't talk about anybody's personal case, but we just had dinner before this, and you were saying that you'll be on a Zoom call coaching, an entrepreneur, and now you have the family on there, and they're like kind of crying and stuff because what's going on in the business is result of what's happening behind the scenes, the mindset.
It's all tied together. You can't undo it, right? If you try to glue 2 pieces of paper together, you can't pull them back apart without damaging stuff. Entrepreneurship, having a small business is really freaking hard. And, unless you've done it, you don't know what it's like. And so I think people that have a normal traditional job look at their entrepreneur friends, like everybody at home watching this, and they're like, oh, it must be nice to have your time freedom, or whatever they say, right? They don't understand that you can't shut it off. Right? It's never ending nonstop. If you don't have a lot of money and resources, you have this panic and anxiety, and no one's coming to save your day. There's no big corporation to bail you out or give you the family medical leave when your baby's born or whatever other benefit or perk you get. You have to club something and drag it home and produce. And it causes a lot of strain. One of the number one causes of divorce is financial issues, right? It's a big deal. People that pretend like money doesn't matter, money's not everything, Josh. They forget how important money actually is. The Bible says that the love of money is the root of all evil, but money itself is a critical part of life. Zig Ziglar said that money isn't everything, but it's similar to air. And when you don't have enough of it, it's the only thing you think about, right? and broke people talk and obsess over money more than wealthy people do. And the network that I have now, the friends, business partners, some of the things that I'm doing that are, higher level things, these people aren't even talking about money so much. They're talking about vision, contribution, the impact that they can make, just how cool it is to build a team. It's like they want to tinker and create things. Whereas before, it's like money, money, money. How do I get $200 tomorrow? How do I get $500 tomorrow? It's a totally different evolution of mindset as you become more successful.
I really like how you talked about the 5 stages of business, or stage 1. And this also kind of like gels with this guy, Myron Golden, that I really like.
Yeah.
He talks about this implementation, then imagination. Can you talk a little bit about that and how those things go together?
Yeah.
So we can have like a tactical sense.
100%. Myron Golden's a genius. I'd consider him one of my mentors. He's a friend. He's unbelievable, and everyone should go listen and buy all of his stuff. He's amazing. But he teaches a framework called the 4 levels of value. And this talks about money mindset too, but it also shows you inarguably that there's different levels of value no matter what language is spoken, no matter what continent we're talking about. There are 4 distinct value levels that control how much earning potential a person has, right? The lowest level of value is implementation. Implementation is when you are the person doing the thing. You're frying the French fries, you're digging the ditch, you're cleaning the window, you're mowing the lawn, you're building the retaining wall. If you're using your muscles to implement the end deliverable, then you're an implementer. And
You're stuck in linear time.
Yeah, and it's not like bad. I mean, there's honor in work. There's honor in all work, right? When you do your very best, there's honor in it. However, the reality is that there is a ceiling to it. And you could be a low-level implementer like at a fast food joint, and you won't make hardly anything. But you could also be like a specialized auto mechanic or a jet engine turbine mechanic who's also an implementer and might make $200,000 a year, right? There's a range. But generally speaking, you're definitely time-bound, and the only resource you have to make money is your muscles. That's the big distinguishing thing. Now, if you don't believe you deserve success, if you believe that, the Smiths, we're laborers, that's who we are, or if you believe that getting money is dirty, filthy, or evil, you're not going to pursue something that you think is evil, right? And so you'll subconsciously sabotage yourself forever. But to make more money, you have to ascend to the second lowest level of value, which is unification. So again, we have implementation, then it's unification. These are managers. These are the cat herders, the professional cat herder. The managers at McDonald's don't make a ton, but they make 40, 50, 60,000 a year. They make a lot more than the French fryers because they're herding the cats. They're also still using their muscles though, and they go to bed exhausted. On the high end, you might have like a VP of a company managing a bunch of sales reps or something. Mm-hmm. But again, you're time-bound, trapped, and you can only use your effort to make money, your physical exertion to make more money.
So unification is managing people. These people can earn 6 figures and live in the nice homes.
Yeah.
We think that like they drive BMWs even. They manage people.
Well, I used to work as a personal banker for Chase a long time ago before I started my first business. And I can tell you all the shiny-looking people are the ones that are broke. Mm-hmm. And the people that have all the money are like farmers that drive used cars. But I digress. That has nothing to do with this conversation. So don't believe everything on the internet, kids. It's a lot of bullcrap. So the third level of value is communication. This is a huge one that people miss, right? It's the ability to make another human being feel something with your words. How do you control someone's emotion through your articulation, your passion? How do you motivate someone else? If you think about like an actor or an actress, why do they get paid so much money? Well, you can sit at home and pout about it, but the reality is that they have this special ability to move people in their heart. You can do that on a tiny level with your little business. The very first annual Christmas party I had when I had my window and pressure cleaning business, I had 1 employee. And we still had our first annual Christmas party, right? I stood up, we did a whole award ceremony where this guy won every single award. And his face turned beet red. We're just at a normal restaurant. Everybody's staring at us. But that type of passion and energy is huge. And so a small business, when we're getting stuck, a lot of times it's because the only thing you're doing is managing people, and you're not really moving people. And communication is that next thing. And you're making money with your mouth, right? You're making money with your words by casting vision, by telling the future and where your employee's role is in it. When those types of people do very well.
So the communicator is strictly communicating. They're not digging the ditch and cleaning the windows.
No, not
They're
necessarily.
stuck.
I think we all move up and down these values, right? These are not like permanent all or nothing things. You can be working on your communication skills, imperfectly stumbling. You might have your first team meeting and you feel super awkward because there's 3 people. They got their arms crossed. They're staring at you funny. And you're like, okay, I'll watch a YouTube video. Now I have to be this motivational speaker to my 3 people. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is be a little more precise with your language. Be a little more optimistic with your language, right? Really think what you're going to say and how it affects people. And so you're practicing, right? So in that moment, you're stepping up into level 3, and then you might have to go in the field and deal with the angry customer. And that's okay. That's how you do it, right? The key is to use more and more percentage of your working hours in the higher levels, right?
Yeah. In my service business, I went from doing everything to finally getting a couple crews, and then I'm just selling work, and then I'm back to doing everything. And then I finally find somebody and it starts building. And it's like it keeps going up and down this thing. It's like you feel like you're starting to make it, and it's like...
Yeah, there's lots of reasons for that. You know? And this framework doesn't answer every question. Yeah. But if you look at it, it's true, because you could be in India and the person digging the ditch gets paid less, and the politician gets paid more. As gross and disgusting and horrific as that is, good communicators have an unfair advantage in life. The good news is that it's a learned skill. Absolutely a learnable skill. You just got to put in the work. The highest level of value, according to Mr. Myron, just to give a shout out to him again, is imagination. These are your Walt Disneys and your Elon Musk. These are people who, you literally make money with your mind, because if you think about it, everything that was created in the world by man was created twice. First it's created in your imagination, and then it manifests into reality, right? And that's true with anything, whether it's a product or your landscaping business or anything. If you can't see it, you're going nowhere. You're a boat without a rudder, and good luck. You got to be able to see it. So if you spend no time daydreaming about your future and what could be, you're going to have a hard time doing big things.
Imagination. Walt Disney, Elon Musk, Steve Jobs.
And little old Petey, who's watching this, who did 32,000 last year and he wants to do 80. You gotta imagine being the guy doing 80. You have to. What does that look like? What would that feel like? What would my shop be laid out like? What if my trucks are more organized? What if I get the second truck and I wrap it in a standard? You have to think. Even today, I spend a minimum of an hour a day just thinking. I started doing this about 5 years ago in Costa Rica. Every single day, it drives my wife crazy. I'll leave the house and I go for a drive. Every single day. When I was in Costa Rica, I rode a pink moped, but don't judge me. But just to think, you have to think. People spend too much time implementing and not enough time thinking, and you have to say no and go think and dream.
I've learned that sometimes if you're super busy 7, 8, 9, 10 hours straight, or even if you're on lunch break at work, to be simple, you have 3 minutes. People will take their phone out, and I've done this too, and just start looking at social media instead of giving a gap there to just breathe and think. So thanks for that. So that kind of does go with the 5 stages of business. Now, how can somebody realize this? You're saying it right now, but actually start to move up those stages, and then how does that also affect what's going on at home? And because what's going on at home is also happening. They affect each other.
Yeah. Well, you've heard how you do anything is how you do everything, right?
Oh yeah.
I don't know if that's exactly true, but it's a nice thing to say. But, whether it's your business or your family, there's 2 main macro components. You have people and you have systems. That's it. If your business sucks, your systems suck. And by the way, all of our families and all of our businesses are already fully systemized, right? The question is not, should I add systems to my business? No, you already have them. If you don't follow up with customers, you have a zero-touch follow-up system, for example, right? You have one. It just sucks. If you're mean and passive-aggressive to your wife and you never go on date night, you have a passive-aggressive, mean, no date night system, which yields a bad result in lots of ways, right?
Oh, you already have a system.
Everybody has a system.
You just have to
the way you talk to yourself is a system. The way you talk to your kids is a system. The look on your face when you get bad news and your 6-year-old's looking at you get the bad news, that look on your face is a system. These are frameworks. Everything's a system. You're already doing it. The key is to not judge yourself and be full of shame. Is to say, is this serving us well? Is this who we want to be? We help families a lot of times create core values. Our family has the Latimer birthright. It's like a manifesto of who we are and who the bad guys are and who we're fighting against, and it's this epic thing. The reason we have that is because if I'm not intentional and tell my kids who they are, the world will do it for me, and I don't want nothing to do with the world telling my kids who they are. It's true in business. It's true in your family, right? It's people and systems. And, one of the problems people have with setting like core values, which sounds like this boring AT&T thing, is that they feel like a liar. So let's say that you're watching at home and you say, God, that's epic. I want to set values for my family. We're leaders. We're, abundance mindset, and we're whatever core values you come up with. You might not be embodying those values right now. And so you allow it to stop you from setting them in the first place. And that's a big mistake. Core values are aspirational, future-based things. You don't have to be Superman to set your core values. The idea isn't to build a gajillion-dollar business, an empire, and be the perfect husband and father, and then lock in your core. You have to aspire to them, if that makes sense. So people have a hard time writing it down because they feel like a fraud, right? Well, I'm not abundance mindset, I can't think of a core value right now. Like our 4 core values are leadership, faith, character, and work ethic, right? And maybe, so I aspire to be the family that has impeccable character. Does that mean that I haven't told a white lie? Of course not, right? But that doesn't mean that that's who I want to be, right? So these things are anchors pulling you to the future version of yourself.
Wow. So just for some context also, Josh, you have this thing. You have 5 kids, so you have Maverick as your son. Maverick Mondays, you spend undivided attention with Maverick, and he knows every Monday he's going to spend time with Dad.
Right.
Tucker Tuesday,
Yep.
and then Saturday date night with your wife.
Yep.
I don't know all the rest, but and you posted this thing, I think it was last year on Facebook. A lot of people were engaging. It's like you took your son on like a week-long in the wilderness trip or something to initiate him into manhood.
And that was planned out when he was like 5 years old. So when our kids turn 13, they go on a rite of passage trip with Dad. Like that was the vision. Like how epic is that? And so he was the first one that turned 13. I have another one that just turned 13 this fall, but we're doing his trip next summer. He also wants to go to Alaska. And we went into the wilderness. I had him write a letter to his future self of who he wants to be. I had him write a letter to his future wife even. And we just did man stuff and epic stuff, and we fished, and we just stayed up late and made, we got really stinky and didn't take showers and walked around the woods and did man Alaska stuff, which was awesome. Purpose of that, though, is to reinforce who he is, right? Maverick Latimer, this is who we are, right? To bestow masculinity to him, to lead him. It was his grandfathers, him and me. And it's a family system.
But the family system and all these systems start with you have an aspiration of how you want to be, but then you instill you got an MVS, a minimum viable system.
Yeah.
For me, it's every Tuesday night is date night with my wife, and like Saturday finances, I do every Saturday, and it hit this thing called automaticity, where now if I don't do it, it would feel like a fish out of water.
Right. Yeah, people, if you get overwhelmed trying to think of all the systems you need to do and how you don't have them, just stop doing that. The main thing you need to focus on first is identity systems. There's basically a few different types of systems. And the 3 main ones that people need is identity systems, which is a methodology, whether you have kids or not, to remind yourself who you are, who you're fighting against, and where you're going, period. Right? And you get to decide that. It doesn't come from your royal bloodline. It comes from what you choose to be. Who do you want to be? And you write it down into a manifesto or a birthright or core values or something or some sort of affirmation. You just get to make it up. But, that's going to help. Once you have your identity is like sufficient, then you need connection systems. Connection systems, with the family context, people don't talk to each other. The biggest illusion of communication is that it has occurred, right? This is with employees too.
Wow.
And there's a book. I haven't read this book, but the title says it all. The title is "I Said This, You Heard That," right? So, like, we have a system called Hypercommunicate with my wife and I.
I need to work on some of that stuff.
Yeah, Hypercommunicate, intimacy, right? Purple unicorns is our code word in our house for mommy, daddy special time, if you know what I mean. That's a purple unicorn, right? You can systemize that part of your life, and not in a robotic way, but to make sure it's happening, make sure there's connection, because these are the foundational things. Like, everybody wants to chase a business tactic over here. you're doing it wrong. Like, you got to know who you are. You got to be tightly connected and totally in alignment with the people close to you, whether it's a business partner, your spouse. You don't have to have purple unicorns with your business partner, but that's just for your spouse. But you got to have connection, and then the third system are targets, goals. You got to be aiming at something. But everybody wants to set goals, but their identity's out of whack. They have shame around money, the guilt around money. They feel guilty every time they make too much money, so then they self-sabotage. That has to be dealt with first before anything else happens.
Sorry, I was just looking behind my shoulder. I'm listening to you saying you brought that kid war plan with you. And before we wrap up, I got to bring this thing on camera, bro.
Yeah, I'd love you to.
Oh, sweet. He's going to grab it for me.
Okay.
So I started out by talking about beliefs and money patterns and things like that. And for me, a huge thing was worthiness. And I want to know in the comments below with you guys. Oh, here it is. Wow. So tell me about this. I see you're promoting that on the internet, and that's insane.
Yeah.
And there was this video of your son talking about some epic stuff that most people don't even know. It's like, how did this kid learn that? And so,
I mean, I'm a weirdo, right? So like every day in our house is like a TED Talk. You know, we're always discussing deep things. Since my kids were really little, I ask them existential questions. I don't expect a miraculous answer. I just ask them. You know, there'll be someone in a bad mood at the grocery store. I'll say, why do you think that guy was in such a bad mood? And my 6-year-old, I can ask that too. She'll go, I don't know. And I say, well, think about it. What do you think? What are some reasons? Why? I don't know. Why would he be so grumpy? Because he's angry? Why do you think he could be angry? Because it's so hot outside? Yeah, that's a possibility. What are some other possibilities, right? And you open up these things, right? This journal, basically what it is we teach our kids entrepreneurial ideas. We just always have, right? If you ask any of my kids, you know, what an entrepreneur is, they'll tell you it's a person who takes on a greater than normal financial risk in pursuit of a large reward, right? If you ask them what propaganda is, they know what that is because we talk about it. They'll say it's cleverly constructed but misleading information used to promote a particular point of view. And they're little, and people think we're crazy or that we're old-fashioned. We're not old-fashioned. We're not teaching our kids old-fashioned principles. We're teaching them ancient principles. And there's a big difference between old-fashioned and ancient. They need to know that they're not a victim. They need to know that they need to create value in the world and in the home to produce a result for themselves, that they're responsible. And I view my role as a parent as an equipper of a future adult. You know, the purpose of childhood is to prepare for adulthood, not to get, Minecraft XP or whatever happens with that. And I'm all for that, by the way. Our kids do this journal. They learn a different word each day. They're handmade, and we just decided to make it so that other people could have it. Because these ideas are things that we've taught our kids for years.
That was a lot. That's amazing. So what's in it?
There's
no, forget that.
Yeah.
There's a lot. I don't want to know what's in it, but I mean, how in the heck did you make something that's like leather and it looks like something from...
These are actually a nightmare to produce. I mean, this is the first time I've ever had a physical product that we sold to people, but it's literally handmade out of real leather. The paper inside the book is made out of cotton, handmade, and even when they print on all the pages, they use metal printing plates because you can't run the paper through a printer. And the reason we did it that way is basically two reasons. Number one, I wanted it to look like it came straight out of the Hobbit movie or Lord of the Rings or something. That way, kids will take it more serious. When they get it, doesn't get tossed to their closet. They're like, "What the heck is this? This is amazing," because this is serious, right? And we live in an insane world, and we need stuff like this. There's just not a lot of resources that teach kids personal responsibility. How do you get a kid to become a producer instead of a consumer? I want my kids creating YouTube content, not consuming it. I'm not against consuming it, but you understand what I'm saying? It's by learning the stuff that's in this journal, and we just made it fun for kids.
That's amazing. I'm going to wrap up here in a second, but at dinner, you asked an amazing question. For some of us that have grown up on the other side of the tracks, or we didn't have a silver spoon in our mouth, we grew up with very humble beginnings. I know I have, if you know my story. Why do some of us choose, like you said, one way and some choose the other way? Could you talk about that?
Well, actually, I heard this just a couple days ago from our mutual friend, Brandon Vaughn.
Brandon's awesome.
Yeah, he's a business partner of mine. I called him my work wife, right? Brandon's phenomenal. But he said he read in a book somewhere a story about two brothers who both had a very bad father, right? Just a very bad father. And one of the brothers became a raging alcoholic whose life was in shambles, and the other one became very, very successful in all the areas of his life. And what's ironic is when you ask either of the brothers, why are you the way that you are? They both answered, because of my dad, which is crazy, right? Because you have two totally contradictory outcomes, both blaming or giving credit to the same source, which is so weird, right? So I guess my point of that whole story, I think what you're asking is, we all have a choice. We do have a choice. Yes, circumstance is real. Yes, the pain is real. Yes, people get dealt way worse hands than other people. 100% that's true. But at the end of the day, you either going to have a victim mindset with it, or you're going to use it and say, you know what? Now at least I know what not to do. Now I know I can go in this other direction. Or now I have a chip on my shoulder. Some of the best people to work with are people with a chip on their shoulder. They came from 3 generations of welfare family, and everyone thinks their family's is just this band of losers, right? And they say, I'm going to show them.
What about the guy, this was me, who says, I believe all that, but you don't understand me. People don't understand what I'm going through.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
100%. Everybody does this with business too. Well, Josh, in my market, it's different. Oh, you don't understand, Josh. I can't charge more prices. In my market, we call it IMM in my market. It's like the go-to excuse to...
Or in my marriage. Or
exactly. Everyone thinks they're unique.
Yeah.
And there are unique nuances to everybody's story, of course. But generally speaking, there's almost nothing new under the sun. There's nothing unique. Human beings are human beings, and your needs are your needs, and who you believe you are, what you believe you're capable of, and what you believe you deserve are going to take care of 90% of everything.
Say that again.
Who you think you are, I don't remember the second one. It just came out, but it's what you think you deserve is the main one. If you don't deserve more than you have, you're not going to have more than you have. If you don't believe it in your heart, if you're not fully persuaded that you deserve $1 million a year income, I'm not even talking revenue, right? And people are like, whoa, how does that? No one deserves that much. Okay, you're not going to have it, right? Because we believe income is just the natural byproduct of value creation.
You know what? It was being on the phone with you about once a quarter. I never believed I could make over 20 grand a month. And you're like, what are you talking about? You're like, next time I talk to you, I bet you're going to be making 50 grand a month. And I had my first $60,000 month a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
And thank you.
Yeah.
But it's by hanging out with guys like you and coming to some of these live events.
Same thing for me. I mean, we started in a trailer park. I've been bankrupt. I've had cars repossessed. I've had electricity shut off. My basement flooded. I've had horrible financial disasters happen many times, right? The main thing that's changed over the last 15 years for me is my brain. And the main reason my brain changed is because of the people I spend the most time with. I've just made it a point to hang out with people that were further ahead than me. I heard a quote that says, don't take advice from someone you wouldn't trade places with. And a lot of people watching this right now probably take advice or let people speak into their life that have unqualified, incompetent suggestions that they should delete from their brain immediately. and possibly even just do some pruning on those relationships, because it bleeds onto you. People's negativity and stuff, it leaks out, like it rubs on your leg and it messes it up. On the other hand, when you're around big thinkers, even though it seems weird and impossible at first, it starts to normalize. I mean, for you, does $60,000 a month, it's a normal thing because you've already achieved it now. You're like, okay, I get it. No big deal.
Yes, I'm just agreeing with you.
Okay. Yeah, it's just a gradual process, but it all goes back to identity and knowing who you are.
I love it, man. Where can people find out more about you and learn?
Well, you can get the Kid War Plan on our website. And if you could put a link or something. But so if you have kids, you want them to learn entrepreneurship, you want to be a producer, not a consumer. If you don't want them to grow up to be victims and live in your basement until they're 35, buy them the Kid War Plan. That'd be really cool. If not, hopefully I added value in another way.
I'm going to put a link. Check that out, guys. This is awesome. Follow what Josh is doing. And it was nice having you on, bro.
Dude, I love it. Thank you.
Yes.
Bye.
Later. Hey, and one more thing. We're about to do an episode on the Untrapped podcast as well, so you can find that on all major platforms if you want to hear more from Josh. All right, later.
Awesome.